Hi, my name is Michael Rhodes, and today I'm talking about ignorance. Ignorance is probably the root of all human suffering. Ignorance of who we are. Ignorance of our vast potential, which is spiritual. Ignorance of our spirituality. Somewhere along the line we traded in our spirituality for religion. Not everybody, but a lot. There was a time, back in Paleolithic times for instance, when the men used to worship the sun and the women worshipped the moon. Not every man and not every woman, but that's who they worshipped. And some of those men and women are now in the fifth dimension, because it isn't the sun or the moon, it's the act of worshipping, the act of that total devotion, the act of that complete commitment. We're spiritual beings, and so a spiritual longing is or should be natural to us, to devote ourselves to the spiritual. That's what we're basically designed for. But sometime back in our history, if your spirituality is connected to something like the sun or the moon, you're not so easy to control. And so they invented a god in the image of man. And that god, for many people, was a wrathful god. My father was proud to be a God-fearing man. That's terrible. That's terrible. What a lie to live. And so then they put an intermediary between that God and ourselves and the people. And that created separation, separating a person from their own divinity. And over the centuries, that's become the way of life. This is what people do. They believe in religion. Somebody like me would be sacrilegious to say that this God that humanity created doesn't exist. I can assure you the God that humanity created, that the priests and the religions created, doesn't exist. There's no such being. Is there supreme creation? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's so far beyond the pettiness of humanity that we don't even catch a glimpse of the shadows of that type of light. And did you know, metaphysically, light throws a shadow? And if you can stand in the shadow of light, metaphysically, you're in a remarkable place. And so this compounded over the time, over the centuries, over the many incarnations, into the profound ignorance of today. Particularly, sorry to say it, the Christian ignorance. And with that ignorance there is an arrogance. And I grew up with that arrogance, that we were right and all other religions were wrong. The Buddhists were wrong. Oh, poor people, have they no idea? The Japanese, the Asians, the Indians, with all their gods, they were wrong. Because we knew there was only one God. Because this is what our vicars and our priests told us. All lies. Absolutely all lies. And this has compounded our ignorance. Metaphysically, I've met Japanese gods and goddesses, and they too pay homage to supreme creation. And they don't consider their gods or goddesses, but they're certainly on a much higher plane than we are. And so you can listen to me and say, oh, well, he's lost it now. I've never heard such rubbish. And that's fine, throw it away. It means it doesn't fit in your belief system. It means you'll much rather stagnate than take a step out of your old position and change. And you have full freedom to do that. I'm not here to convince anyone. But what I'm saying is, it is our ignorance, our concretized ignorance that is holding humanity and the situation we're in. These cycles don't have to end. 200,000 years. There's no cosmic clock ticking down and says it's got to end. 200,000 years is up. We bring it to an end from our sheer, stunning ignorance and arrogance. We bring it to an end. That's as simple as that. And then we have to start again. Because we've become so inflexible, so stuck in that groove, there is no chance of our consciousness to continue rising. Individually, many people have stepped out of that. And many people at a time and space now when they will move on. Many people. Thousands, millions probably will move on. But the billions won't. And that to me is a shame. And why? Ignorance. I'll give you an example. Today we have internet. You know it and I know it. If you go in there with a belief, you believe something, you will look at all that supports your belief. Every video and every talk you listen to will support your belief. That's what we do. That's the way to remain stagnant. There are some people who have actually told me they look at different stuff because they want to see if they're wrong and they're prepared to change their position. And I say to them, it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of opening and growing. But I'm afraid they're the few. And so when we use internet to stagnate even further, like Trump, nobody's polarized people more than Donald Trump. And there are those who hate him and those who love him. Neither's right nor wrong. It's simply their relationship with themselves that they're seeing in another man. But there are many of people, so many of these people who hate him, and then they read everything they can and look at every video to confirm that hate. That's not a good idea. I was not keen on Donald Trump. And one day I looked at a video and I wanted to leave it. And I kept looking and I wanted to leave it. And I kept looking and I wanted to leave it because it didn't confirm my beliefs about Donald Trump. And I wanted to leave it. And so I stayed with it nearly an hour and a half watching it and listening. And at the end of that, I let go my position. I realized the only thing I know about Donald Trump is what I have learned from the media. And I learned that the media hate Donald Trump. And so I realized this is the world we're in. This is the game we're playing. And I allowed Donald Trump to be Donald Trump. And I laid no more judgments on him. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. Probably the greatest polarizer of the modern age. And so this ignorance, and it holds hands with arrogance. And I have found definitely that the more ignorant a person, the more arrogant they are. And the more ignorant they are, the more they want to stay in that place of ignorance. Stagnation. Three holding hands. Ignorance, arrogance and stagnation. This is not what we're about. And yet today, there would be millions, hundreds of millions, maybe into the billions of people in exactly this position. They cannot evolve further in consciousness. They cannot grow in consciousness with that old template, that subconscious template stuck, mired down in the concrete of ignorance, arrogance and stagnation. And so it's all breaking down. We're only just getting into it. If you think it's going to come to an end and everything will go back to normal, that normality was deadly. That normality was deadly to us. More of the same. That's what so-called normality is. It is not normal to not know who you are. If that's a normal, do we want that? A normal where you believe you're a body, identity, personality, and when you die, that's the end. If that's normal, we do not want that type of normality. Don't take this in any way as a judgment or criticism, but normal people fill the hospitals. People who love themselves, who respect themselves, who honour themselves, who have left the deep well of ignorance and climbed out to say, do you know what? I realize I really don't know anything. So I'm wide open to life. They don't clutter the hospital system because they have a different relationship with life and they have a different relationship with self. And so there we go. Ignorance. It's not a good place to be. Arrogance. The intellect is arrogant. Now, when I say that, I realize that many intellectual people are listening to me. I do not mean that the person is arrogant. I mean that the intellect is arrogant. The intellect carries its own arrogance. My intellect has said there is only one God and all the other religions are wrong and I feel sorry for them. That was so arrogant. And when I met a Japanese god and a Japanese goddess, when I met them metaphysically, and if you think I'm crazy, that's fine. When I met them metaphysically, and I had to realize I had to let go of this one God image, I found two beautiful beings of a higher state of consciousness who showed me many of the pitfalls that religion takes us into. With religion, you are controllable. I remember once reading a story in a magazine, an article by a man who said, so they're going to make Pope Paul a saint. And he said, I wonder when they make him a saint if they consider his teaching or his proclamation, you do not use contraceptives. And I wonder if he realizes how many South American peasant women who are strict Catholics who must not use contraceptives. I wonder if he realizes how many die with their 8th or 9th or 10th or 11th or 12th child. And it shocked me. I thought, my God, who would think that? I wouldn't be dictated to like that. But their ignorance is blind. It's all based in this religion that is seriously flawed, is corrupt, and lets them down. I would not want to be some of those Catholic priests and higher up people when they have to deal with their own karma. And this isn't I'm hitting at, I'm talking about the ignorance that these poor peasant people who die in childbirth because they're so ignorant they actually totally believe a pope, that he has dominion over their lives. And that pope one day will have to face that. Every pope will have to face that, what they've done. As we, all of us, have to face what we do. We all have to face it. Ignorance. We need to be informed. We need to be open. We never need to take hold of a lump of knowledge. This is it. This is the way it is. It's like the old story with the elephant. An elephant is a long and sinuous, muscular trunk. And no, an elephant is long and thin and narrow and got a tuft on the end, the tail. No, an elephant is like the side of a wall, but hairy. All these clever people could feel a part of the elephant, but very few embrace the whole elephant to realize what the whole elephant is. In their blindness, they could only feel a part of the elephant. And in the blindness of our ignorance, we don't even get close to the whole of the truth. It does assist, it does aid us if we consciously choose love.